What's going on, everyone? Talon back here, and today I was going through a bunch of interviews that I saw from mostly E3, but also just little gameplay snips and everything of Dragonball FighterZ, and I was like, okay, you know what? I'm noticing some things that maybe haven't been covered or a lot of people are still asking a lot of information about, which I know that they're not going to be releasing just yet because we do have a lot more events coming up in the near future. Anything from PAX to Tokyo Game Show to you name it, we're going to be seeing more and more of this, not to mention the details that we will be getting from the V-Jump magazine every month here in Japan, which I actually saw what they had on Dragonball FighterZ, but it was simply all the E3 stuff that we just got. So next month in July, basically near the end of July, we will be getting hopefully our first new bit of information that was not shown at E3 at all when it comes to Dragonball FighterZ. But there was some stuff that I picked out from a couple of interviews from like GameSpot and stuff like that that I thought were pretty interesting. And also just some things that I noticed personally when watching the gameplay itself. So first thing that I wanted to go over was the concept of homing dashes and Dragon Rush. Now, homing dashes were where you can knock your opponent, after you've knocked your opponent into the air, you will fly after them. That's where we've seen that kind of like fancy shift from 2D to kind of a 2.5, 3D angle where they fly, your character will fly after somebody and you can start off your air combos and everything like that. So that is a homing dash, okay? Now, in terms of how you hit them up, I'm assuming there are obviously, you have different methods like Gohan. He obviously has his little like kind of uprising, kind of punch, whereas a lot of other people though maybe not have that. And I don't know certainly if there is a universal like style attack where you can just like knock someone up with a single punch or something like that. But what you do have though is you also have this mechanic called Dragon Rush, and Dragon Rush is basically taking the replacement of things like throws. So in your typical fighter game, like let's say take Street Fighter 2 or any Street Fighter basically, or Guilty Gear or BlazBlue or anything like that, and you always got that person blocking. No matter what you do, you're trying to attack from all different angles and everything, but they're just blocking everything, and you can't get anything off. Maybe you've used up your entire super meter or whatever version of the game you're playing. You can't do really any special attacks to break that guard, but what can you do? Well, usually you throw them, right? You go up to them, you grab them, you throw them, and then you break their guard, and then you try to follow up with a quick combo or anything like that. In Dragon Ball FighterZ, though, you have something called the Dragon Rush, and the Dragon Rush allows you to dash towards your opponent, which you've pretty much seen. It's like maybe you're on the ground, you slightly go above the ground, you dash into them, and then you go from there. And you do knock them to the air a little bit, and you can do a little bit of an air combo. It's not going to be as big as something like the homing dash where you've really knocked them up into the air, but nonetheless, it is just a way to get rid of those who are always trying to block everything, because you can low block, you can mid-air block. I've seen plenty of videos of that already, and you can block pretty much anywhere as long as obviously you're not already getting hit into the combo, and you should be fine. So yeah, so that was pretty cool. And the fact that Dragon Rush can be fall, one thing I think I saw it properly, and I'll try to find the gameplay if you don't see it in this video. I'm sorry I wasn't able to find it. But the fact, there might be a fact you'd have to test this out when the closed beta comes, which is in late summer, as we already know. No other details on that, but this will be, we'll have to test this obviously. But the fact that you could potentially go from a Dragon Rush, which is simply going in to block them, to stop them from blocking all your attacks, and then then if you have the ability to hit them up right afterwards, then you can do the homing attack kind of thing. Again, I'm not sure exactly if it is possible, but we'll have to definitely test that out. Now, one thing that a lot of people, especially from the Xenoverse community, are kind of worried about, but also really want to know a lot about information about is there going to be this like robust story? What kind of modes are we going to have and that kind of thing? And I want to get into that particularly in terms of the modes and everything in another video, probably coming out within the next day or so, because I want to be looking at Guilty Gear and BlazBlue and how they've handled all those concepts right there, because this is the same developers, and what we might expect. Obviously, there's going to be some differences, obviously, in terms of games, but nonetheless, I will get into that into a future video. But one thing that I caught from the interview was the fact that they want a robust story mode, and it's in the works, which they will be releasing obviously at a different time. But if we look at something like BlazBlue and Guilty Gears and how they handled story modes, BlazBlue, you pick your character and then you enter the story mode. So, for example, you could pick Ragna. If you don't know who that is, he's the main character. He's the main face of BlazBlue. Obviously, there's multiple characters, but he's the main face. If you ever Google it, that's what you're going to see. And if you do that, you'll go through a story mode, and depending on how you win the fight sometimes, it will then alter this. It will change the story. At least that's how I remember it from the original, when it came out in Calamity Trigger on the PS3. If I remember correctly, it was a long time ago when that happened. But I remember there were times where, depending on how you beat the that battle particularly, you know, if you got like a perfect or something like that, or maybe if you were playing, there might have been harder difficulties, I don't remember, but if you did that, then it carried on the story, or like if you beat his story mode, you beat it completely, and then you went in through all, like 2 other characters that were somehow related to him, and then you came back to his story, you could continue it or something like that. So maybe we could see something like that with Dragon Ball FighterZ, because again, they mentioned that they're not going to be going for a original story in terms of like how Xenoverse did, you know, because Xenoverse is technically an original story. But they're not, but they do want to keep it robust, and they do want to go for something at least original in their aspect, because that's what they've known. They've done it with BlazBlue. I'm pretty sure they did something similar to Guilty Gears. I've not played them personally. I have to wait till tomorrow to finally go pick up Guilty Gears, but I will definitely update you that again on that whole modes thing when I'm doing that video here in the next day or so. So definitely, if you're worried about the story, thinking you're just going to go through the normal Dragon Ball story mode, no matter what Dragon Ball game you play, there's going to be some aspect of that. But what could potentially happen is maybe they have little like what if scenario type of things where they're not doing a Xenoverse type style, you know, an exact Xenoverse replica or anything like that, or something, you know, something original, but maybe they changed it up just a little bit and make it kind of, you know, make it something like that. You know, who knows? We'll get more details of that, most likely released in the V-Jump and everything like that. So don't worry, there's going to be plenty of, you know, there's going to be a story mode, there's going to be tons of modes, and again, I'm going to get into the modes thing in another video, because I know a lot of people are very cautious, and they, you know, they keep thinking like, oh, there's only going to be fighting, you know, 1v1 or technically 3v3. It's like, no, guys, give Arc System a little bit of credit. So again, I'm going to get at that into a later one. Another thing that I noticed in the gameplay itself was transporting. Now, if you remember Budokai 3 particularly, you could do a instant swap, basically, like where if someone fires off a kick or a blast, or a key blast technically, I guess, firing off, if you timed it just right, you could transport behind the guy and kick them, or maybe sometimes punch them depending on the character and everything like that, and it used up some ki. And what I've noticed when watching the gameplay is that there's 2 instances of this. One of them is actually in your combo. It's mostly been in Cell and in Gohan so far, where they are hitting, you know, you're hitting the opponent, and then you will teleport behind them, hit them, teleport in front of them, you know, hit them again, and that is part of the combo, and that does not use up any ki, which makes sense. They're making, you know, they're going to make certain moves unique to certain characters, which is cool. But then you can actually, I'm pretty sure almost any character can do this. You can just transport behind somebody, but you don't automatically attack them. You just simply transport behind them to dodge their attack and everything. That uses up a significant amount of ki. It uses up 1 entire ki gauge. So I think the maximum I've seen for a ki gauge so far was 5 or 6 or something like that. So technically, if you were fully charged, you'd have 6 chances to do that. But of course, you know, you're gonna want to use Ki Blast, you're gonna want to use Kamehameha and all that stuff. So you gotta be you gotta be sparingly use this this transport method where you're going behind somebody to counter them and everything. So you definitely need to keep an update on that. And then, you know, we're gonna have to see exactly if they change that. Are they gonna change how many key bars we have? I think 6 seems to be pretty fair. I haven't seen anyone that went to the E3 demo complain about it or anything like that, but we'll have to see exactly when that happens. So, and then one last thing I want to cover before heading off here was a little bit of a transformation update. So we already know that there's going to be transformations in this game. That's been confirmed. We already know that. And then we also know that there are going to be only certain characters who have transformations. But one thing I did pick up from a GameSpot interview was that this guy asked about transformations, because he said, you know, with Goku in Dragon Ball Z games, there's 7 different versions of his transformations, and you're going to have many different Gokus. One Goku can only go to Super Saiyan, one Goku can only go Super Saiyan 2, you know, different things like that. And so what they said was, again, that certain characters will have a small transformation like Frieza. That would be a move that they do, okay? So he can turn to Gold Frieza, and he continue to do his normal moves that he was in his 4th form, but they're obviously more powered up and everything like that. And then obviously he'll turn back to 4th form, just like we've seen in a lot of gameplay demos and everything like that. Then you have characters like Goku, at least with the current Goku that they are showing off in the demo here from E3, where when he does his big super move, he will turn Super Saiyan 3 and do that. Now, one transformation that we obviously I'm just going by Z. I'm not going by Super or anything like that. One thing that we haven't seen yet is the fact of him going Super Saiyan 2. I thought originally maybe I had caught it when he was doing a little power-up move, which I guess heals you or something like that. Again, I haven't played the game, but that's when people have been sending me photos on that on Twitter and everything. But that was not Super Saiyan 2. That was just simply a move that everyone has. Essentially, it's like a charge move or something like that. So I'm not sure exactly if they're going to be putting every single one in, because maybe Super Saiyan 2, yes, it is Super Saiyan 2 is in there, but maybe Super Saiyan 2 is more really known from Gohan. Goku going Super Saiyan 2, it wasn't really that, you know, crazy, like, oh my gosh, he went Super Saiyan 2 kind of thing. He did it once against Fat Boo, and I think he did against Majin Vegeta. So that was about it, give or take. So if we're gonna, you know, my guess is that we're not, obviously, like they said, they're not gonna have multiple forms of Goku. But I would probably guess that we're going to have a Z Goku, like the one we saw in the beta, and then maybe have a Super Goku where he starts off base form, but he can go Super Saiyan Blue or something like that. Or maybe he's already starts Super Saiyan Blue, and he goes Kaioken or something like that. Because in the anime, Kaioken Goku is really cool. Or maybe he'll start God and then go Blue if they pull from the manga. Or, you know, they could do both. You know, who knows what they're going to do. So I could potentially see 2 Gokus, would be my guess. Because, again, Arc System is not known for having a huge roster. I would guess between 20 and 30 characters at most. At most. And then one thing that I also caught was that the guy actually asked about fusions, because it was right after the translator talked about how Goku goes Super Saiyan 3 during his super move, but he doesn't stay Super Saiyan 3. And the guy automatically says, okay, well then how are fusions going to be handled? Are we going to get Gogeta? Are we going to get Vegito and Gotenks? Are they going to be part of a super move, like where you're playing as Vegeta and then you go Gogeta to do a super move? Or are you going to just have him as a transformation? Or what's going to deal? And the guy, unfortunately, they couldn't give us more details. This is where the V-Jump magazines and future trailers at future events will come in the very near future, because there's a lot coming up here. But one thing they said was that it really depends on the roster if they're going to put that is, you know, the size of them. So, you know, someone like Gogeta and Vegito, probably Vegito, I would say. And the reason I say Vegito, and Gogeta fans don't kill me in the comments or anything like that, but he is technically canon, so he is a little bit more popular than the Gogeta, unfortunately, for those of you who want Gogeta over Vegito. I see Vegito being a character himself. I probably see that. As for Gogeta, I could easily see that being a character, but let's say, for example, that maybe at when the game's released and he's not a full-on character himself, maybe they're still working out the dinks in him and everything like that, but he is part of a Vegeta super move or something like that, where he does go Gogeta and do that. That could potentially be one thing, or it could be a transformation like they stated before. But, you know, again, we don't know the roster, so nobody flip out or anything like that. I'm just going based off of the interview where the main developer was talking in Japanese and then the guy was translating and everything. And I even tried listening to myself and I was like, okay, so she can't really give much information, but nonetheless, it's just still be pretty good. So, again, wait until V-Jump comes out every month. At the end of every month, I will try to pick it up as fast as possible, or we'll see photos on Twitter, and then I'll talk about it in videos and everything like that. So, yeah. So, anyway, guys, I hope you enjoyed the video. Let me know down in the comments below, what are your thoughts on the homing dashes and the dragon rushes? Do you think they're going to be abused? I personally think that the way they've set it up, not too much, especially with the dragon rushes basically being a throw, basically, to take, you know, to stop someone from guarding all the time, is pretty cool. I like that. Keeps the action going, frantic and pace, which is what Dragon Ball Z is known for. Transformations, I'm totally okay with. We don't need every single little transformation. Yes, you want the popular ones, but do we really need 4 different Gokus to go Super Saiyan, to then go Super Saiyan 2, then go Super Saiyan 3, and so on and so forth? And then one last thing that I did mention is, you know, with the character roster, they're looking at all the spans. GT, Dragon Ball Z, Dragon Ball Super. I doubt Dragon Ball. I really doubt it. But then they mentioned Kai, but I mean, Kai and Z are the exact same thing. But nonetheless, so we'll have to see exactly what they're going to be doing. Again, maybe something like GT, because GT was kind of looked down upon in Japan itself, and this is being developed by a Japanese game developer and all that. You know, GT could probably be more of a maybe hidden story unlock character. He's definitely not going to be at the very beginning, or there'll be a DLC character, would be my guess. But nonetheless, we'll have to see. But yeah. So anyway, guys, let me know your thoughts down below. As always, in the comments below, are you excited? Are you not? And all that stuff. What do you think of each little part that I broke down and everything? Leave a like if you liked the video, and subscribe if you happen to be new for more of these videos. And until next time, everyone, I will see you in the next one.